I caught my wife cheating with two guys in our bedroom, so I did this. 10 years ago I thought I had the perfect life, upper six-figure job, beautiful wife, clean house, 2 new cars, and a child on the way. My job made me happy and I was good at it, and the stability was great. My wife loved me for me and ignored my flaws as I tried to perfect them. In return, I adored her and we seemed to be the perfect couple. People would always compliment us and talk about how envious they were of our relationship and everything. It kept getting better. I kept getting promotions, the kids, now 3, were born, and we eventually moved from an ordinary house to an incredibly nice one. My wife was doing very well in her career, optometrist, and we took fun vacations every year. Again, I thought I had it made. I don't know how this would have prompted it, but in early 2015, I bought her a Tesla. For her birthday, she hadn't gotten a new car since 2008, and I kept getting new cars, therefore I surprised her. She loved it, loved me, and I remember spending that entire day just taking rides in it and figuring out how all of the gadgets and icons worked. It was complete downhill from there. I don't know how that would have triggered anything, but in the months following, she became increasingly distant from not only me, but our children. My oldest, 10F, in particular, felt hurt by this and would often try to ensue conversations with her mother, in order to get her talking. Some days this would work and she would be pleasant, others it would have the opposite effect. The first time I suspected that I was no longer her man of choice was in July 2016 when I noticed she was no longer going to yoga classes, but telling me she was. We were on the same phone plan, and part of that plan was we could see our locations of our phones. I was routinely browsing the app one day, and noticed she appeared to be at someone's house, since she had been irrationally angry that day prior to leaving. I didn't question her about it when she got home from yoga. Instead, I chose to closely observe where she went during her yoga times. It would always seem to end up at the same house, a well-off neighborhood, probably a step above ours, a little north of town. I was getting ready to confront her when I noticed that she had been returning to yoga again. During this period, she became incredibly distant and hormonal. My entire family had noticed this behavior going on for over a year now, but I had had enough. I sat her down and asked her what was going on. She gave me the cold shoulder, and when I questioned her about the yoga locations, she accused me of stalking, invading privacy, and being a grade A dick. That's when I asked her, "Are you cheating on me?" Of course, the answer was no. What followed in the weeks to come was distrust, hatred, and plain anger towards me. It was clear she knew I had caught on, and was now trying to play the "I can't believe you'd think this" victim card, but I knew, I saw through it all. When she finally admitted she had seen and slept with another man, that's when I made my mistake. I forgave her. She told me she loved me, she loved our family, and in that moment, I believed her. I thought she could change. I was wrong. We tried marriage therapy, we tried taking adult days. It seemed to work. We were happy, and she was genuinely having fun, and it seemed like I had the old her back. I was relieved. This allowed me to pour more time into my kids and my work, and have less stress overall. My business trip to San Diego, I live on the East Coast, USA, was cut short when my colleague fell ill, and our clients insisted that we reschedule. It was a hassle, but we caught the next flight out, and returned home. I'm not sure why I didn't tell her I was coming home, but I just didn't. Maybe I wanted it to be a surprise. The only surprise I received when I pulled into the driveway was seeing a Ford SUV in my garage, and finding not one, but 2 men in my bed, with my wife. This all happened yesterday. I'm finally putting it into words. My wife started babbling when it happened, desperately trying to explain. I heard none of it. I walked out of my room, went to the basement, and poured myself a drink. I could hear the men upstairs leaving, and when I returned upstairs, it was my wife sitting there, clothed, with a sad smile on her face. She started talking, but I wouldn't have it. I told her to get out. I told her to get out of my house. I informed her that I'd get her stuff to her by the end of the week. She tried to pull the "what about the kids" bullshit, but I was just done. I'm sad, but not for her. I'm sad for my kids, and I'm sad for whatever poor soul she meets next. I will fight hard for my kids, but my biggest fear is losing them. I know the court will rule incredibly in favor of mothers. I hope they realize that I've spent the last 3 years doing my best to mend a broken marriage for my family, and nothing has worked. I told my kids this morning. They asked why Mom didn't spend the night last night. I didn't make them go to school today. They're all upstairs together. this whole situation is terrible for everyone involved, and it could have been completely preventable. I don't pity my wife. I hope that she has one label for the rest of her life, cheater. I want it to follow her. I want people to know, she is a prominent optometrist in our area. This could very well hurt her business if word spreads, which it very well may. Thank you all for listening. If you have undergone something similar, I'd love to chat. Edit. What a wave of support. Wow. I will try and get back to all of your comments. Please forgive me if I do not. This makes me feel a lot better. I've never been gilded before. Thought you all should know. A happy update. Hey everyone, greetings again. Not sure if you remember me, but I posted here around 2 months ago with the story of how I caught my wife cheating, and what it did for our family. I was incredibly distraught, but as of July 13, 2018, our civil court case has officially concluded. It was a quick and easy process, and I was victorious in everything. I'm not sure if this violates any rules, so mods please feel free to remove, but I figured since I received such positive support from my last post, it'd be my duty not to post an update. Please feel free to skip over these long paragraphs if you don't want to read. I'll post a TLDR at the end. 2 months ago, I came home from a business trip to find my wife in bed with 2 men. This was after multiple years of her deliberately deceiving our family, and I was foolish enough to take her back after I already caught her cheating with someone much older and much richer than me. After telling her to get out, she became hostile and threatened to take my kids away from me. I was beyond concerned at this point. I've had horror stories in the courtroom about mothers getting their way no matter what, so I had no idea what to expect. I had to take time off from work this summer because I was consistently feeling sick and couldn't deal with the though of my ex-wife watching over our children. If they grow up anything to be like her, I'll consider myself a parental failure. I put in my plea for full custody, and officially filed for divorce on May 21, 2018. I hired a lawyer from my best friend at work, who initially tried to do it for free after he heard what happened, but I simply wouldn't feel right, and he hopped on the case. Together we went through my phone records, her phone location records, and gathered everything we possibly could to build our case. Court ceremony began on July 12, the week after my kids and I returned from our vacation. I did not take them out of state per my lawyer's advice, but it was a good little distraction. My 10-year-old daughter, oldest, seemed to be emotionally stable enough to answer some questions by both lawyers, even after I requested her not to have to deal with this whole thing. She stated how my ex-wife had been difficult and paranoid for the last year, but she had learned to live with it, which is something no child should have to experience. However, the thing that tipped the ceremony was her announcement of moving to Southern California, which would mean kids would have to pick. All 3 of them picked me. Her lawyer tried to argue that I was sabotaging them, influencing the kids to pick me over her, but the answer was clear: they wanted to stay in the same house, with the same friends, in the same school. The court ruled in favor of them living full-time with me. They were permitted to visit their mother whenever they please, as long as the stay does not extend 14 days without me. In addition, she is no longer allowed on my property, and that includes our SC residence, my plot of land in Boulder, and any one of the office buildings that my company operates out of. My parents and immediate relatives have also put in requests so that she does not enter any of their homes as well. Ultimately, I'm completely relieved. It's the least stressed I've been in the past 3 years. It's a little sad knowing my marriage failed, but I realized I'm not responsible for that, and I'm going to take these next couple of years to myself, and devote my time to my children. Thank you everyone on this site for their continuous support. It's been a blessing reading all of your PMs and comments. Please take care, every single one of you. TLDR: wife cheated on me with 2 men, got everything back from her, she's a bitch, I won, victory. P.S. Not sure you all remember, but I gave her that Tesla back in 2015, took it right back from her, sold it to a lovely young man in Charleston, and turned the cash into American Cancer Society donations. Read more about them here. Comments. Ripin Pep says, I knew a lady who was P.I. for a divorce lawyer. She told me so many horror stories about divorces and terrible mothers who would always win custody in court despite their wrongdoings, drug addictions, and all-around terrible mothering. Meanwhile, the dads would have been fit parents but almost never won simply because they were the father and not the mother. Seeing that you won that case makes me so fucking happy. It's honestly refreshing. Grimfan32 says, Man, I lost a big poof of air in my lungs reading this story when you mentioned coming home to catch her with two guys. Man to man, my heart aches for you and your kids, but I learned something about you reading this story. You're a damn man. You know exactly what you have to do. I am certain you will take great care of your children. They deserve you and are lucky to have at least one awesome parent. That's more than most separate families can provide. Good luck, Goodman. I wish you all the best. Cubshawk8 says, I haven't seen anyone else say it, so I will. Lawyer up, right now, get a really good one, and don't feel regret about it. I promise you she will wise up and get her the best female lawyer she can find to turn everyone against you in the courts. No custody, but you can write big checks to her each month, is all you will get. I feel for you, man, I really do, and I've seen this exact story play out with my best friend over the last 2 years. Do not for 1 second think or assume that she will have any sorrow or mercy on you. She will use every line in the book and even your kids to paint you as the failure and you as the problem and you to blame. Start protecting yourself and your kids now. Good luck and God bless.